I'm not sure if you guys were aware. Earlier today, major AEW news was announced. AEW announced in a press release this morning that they have signed a new multi-year deal with TNT, and that will keep Dynamite on the air through 2023. The company has also announced a new weekly TV show that will be launched alongside AEW Dynamite. There are rumors going around already that AEW Dark will be brought to TNT. I'm not sure if that is legitimate or not, so we'll see, and we'll wait to see what happens. While no financial terms were announced in the press release, PW Torch and Wade Keller have confirmed the deal averages just under $45 million per year in rights fees, with a TNT option for 2024 at a significantly increased price. The Wrestling Observer first reported those figures. Wade Keller has also learned that the new show will be 1 hour and it will likely air on TNT. The only other station in the Warner Media portfolio being considered is TBS. The day and time has not been determined yet internally, nor is there a launch date. AEW Dark isn't expected to be affected and will continue to air on YouTube. That is according to Wade Keller earlier in the afternoon. I seen as of tonight that it's going to be AEW Dark, but nothing is set in stone, and obviously more information on that to come in the weeks ahead. This is awesome. This is absolutely great news, and I made a mention, and I don't want to really divide fan bases because it's pro wrestling, and at the end of the day, we're all here for pro wrestling. But I put out a tweet in a very sarcastic manner. You know, all the people I want AEW to fail, clearly TNT sees it a lot differently. They're averaging over 1.2 million people every single week with the live TV airing of Dynamite. And then you add on top of that the DVR ratings and the people watching on DVR, whether it's that same night or the next day or on into the weekend. They're averaging over 1.2 million people watching this show weekly. Clearly, TNT sees something in them to warrant a $45 million per year rights fees and an option for 2024. I mentioned on social media, I can't wait to see all the marks who hate AEW with this ferocity, just cry a river of tears. Your tears quench my thirst at the end of the day on Wednesday. Just because I know that you want AEW to fail, and everybody, all the haters out there said, oh, they'll be dead in a year. Clearly not. 2024 is not a year, my fellow Cretans. I think this is a win, not only for AEW, this is a win for professional wrestling. The professional wrestling industry is going to continue to make money. Everybody in the industry is going to still have that true alternative and go out there and find another place to work that's not WWE. You also know what this does to AEW? This, realistically, opens up their bank account. Tony Khan is a businessman. He can't go out there and sign every known free agent in the industry. He's got to pick his poison correctly. He's got to pick his poison wisely. Can't go out there and spend his father's money blindly. Oh, let me get this guy. Let me get a Killer Cross. Let me get a Brian Cage. Let me get a Revival. Let me get a Luke Harper. Let me bring in Matt Hardy. Let me go out there and get Tessa Blanchard or Kelly Klein or whoever the fuck is out there, right? Can't do that. Can't do that. If that was the case, then I'm sure he would do it. But now, with this $45 million plus per year in rights fees and an increased price that is said to be significant in that option year, this is going to open Tony Khan's checkbook so that he could go out there and get a Brian Cage and pay Brian Cage, who right now isn't signed to AEW, which I think is a crock of shit. But you can go out there and get a Brian Cage. You can go out there and be competitive. When the WWE is offering Dash and Dawson all this types of money, he can now be competitive. Something like that you're looking at, before this deal was made, he might be turned off in signing the Revival. I can't compete with that. They're not worth that money. Now he might have the opportunity to compete with somebody like WWE to take the Revival away from Vince McMahon. He's got the opportunity to go out there and offer Matt Hardy a significant contract, to bring him on and pay him in the last years of his career. He has the opportunity to go out there and get a killer cross and maybe make a play for him before he ends up in WWE during WrestleMania weekend. He's got an opportunity to go out there and get a Tessa Blanchard, who I still think is going to find work, significant work, even after this little hiccup that she went through. He's going to have a lot of money to pay whoever he needs to. He's going to have a lot of money to sign people who he wants to lock down for, AEW exclusive contracts. This is a great deal. This is a major situation. Great news for AEW. And I would assume, I don't know if this is factual or not, this is a new deal. I don't know if this new deal is going to impact their current deal with TNT. One has to assume that being that they're on TV in this 1 year from October to October, maybe TNT is giving them the green light and they're going to pay them for what they're doing now on TNT. I don't know if this new deal impacts the current deal, which I'm assuming it would. Being that TNT now trusts what AEW is bringing to the table with Dynamite. This is strong. This is a strong deal. AEW has proved to be, a ratings draw on TNT since it launched in October. And TNT couldn't ask for anything more. They've repeatedly beat NXT in the ratings. So they're confident in what AEW is bringing to TNT as far as that's concerned as well. This is a win-win situation for everybody. I think this is great news. That was announced earlier in the day via a meeting with Time Warner. That was leaked on social media. Tony Khan tweeted about it. 4 more years. Breaking news, AEW Dynamite extended through 2023. And then obviously Time Warner released a media press about this relationship and this new deal, which you guys can read. I'll link you down below in the comments. That's a big deal, man. And I wanted to open the show up tonight with that. And we're going to talk about Bash at the Beach, AEW Dynamite tonight. Bash at the Beach, full podcast right here on Off the Script.
5, delete! This is mine.
AEW brought their Bash to the Beach tonight in Miami. And man, did they bring the Bash at the Beach. Unbelievable show tonight for Dynamite. The set looked fantastic. It was a throwback to the WCW days with the surfboards and the palm trees and the sand and the lifeguard towers. It was great. Hot crowd in Miami. This might have been one of the best, if not very close to being the best AEW Dynamite show so far in the 3 months being on TNT. I said it on social media when we started the show tonight. I said it on Twitter that Dynamite looked great. It sounded great. It felt great. They got everything right tonight. The visuals, it looked great. The sound, it sounded great. The crowd wasn't too loud. The crowd wasn't too low. The commentary wasn't too loud. The commentary wasn't too low. They killed the background theme music when somebody was doing a promo or we seen a promo vignette. They actually had great time management tonight. And we got a closing sequence on Dynamite tonight that got you ready for next week. Jon Moxley and Pac will battle it out to find out who the number 1 contender for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship will be. They did everything right outside of that women's embarrassment, which I will rant on again. Seemingly this is becoming a thing every single week. That women's match was god-awful. Outside of that, This might have been one of the best, if not the best, Dynamite shows that we've seen on TNT so far. And man, that main event of Pac and Jon Moxley next week. First of all, I don't want to take anything away from the main event that we've seen tonight between Darby Allin and Pac. That was unbelievable. Great main event. But next week, I know there'll be some people in the comment section who disagree with me, but we've seen some great main events on Dynamite. We've seen some great main events, whether it's for the Tag Team Championship, whether it's with Chris Jericho. But I honestly do feel going into next week, out of all the main events we've seen on Dynamite, next week's main event is going to be a legit, full-fledged, balls to the wall, burn it down main event. That has a main event feel next week, and they're hyping it up as such, and it deserves to be built up as such. Moxley and Pac is the first main event on this show that legitimately is going to feel like a main event. I hope Dynamite, I hope everybody involved with this show gives them the proper time to tell their story, because I feel they're going to tear it down next week on this show. I can't wait. I loved everything about this show. We're going to go over it right here on the podcast. This is your Dynamite review for tonight's show, January 15th, 2020. Their Bash at the Beach Spectacular in Miami, Florida. And we're going to go over everything that happened on Dynamite tonight. I am JD. This is Off the Script. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below and turn on that bell for all notifications. If you guys are new around here, I would really appreciate it. So make sure you guys hit that subscribe button. And if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, shout out to Sal Rex for this beautiful layout tonight. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that thumbs up down below. Dynamite opened up. No entrances. Everybody was in the ring. I don't usually like that, but in this case, if it saves some time and it got everything on the show in a perfect way that it was tonight, I don't mind. The match itself was absolutely fantastic. A fatal four-way tag team match with the winners becoming the number one contenders for the AEW Tag Team Championships. We got Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page. We got the Young Bucks. We got Proud and Powerful, a.k.a. LAX, a.k.a. Santana and Ortiz. And the best friends with freshly squeezed Orange Cassidy. You gotta love Orange Cassidy. Now, I'm not gonna go over this entire match. There's no possible way for me to go over everything that happened here. But this match was very story heavy. This match was something that I was looking forward to just based off the Omega and Page situation. What's going on with their story? What's going on with this, I guess, this internal struggle with Adam Hangman Page? Is he an alcoholic? I don't know. Or is it that he just enjoys a good cold beverage like I do? I love me some cold beverages, man, but he might be going a little bit overboard with the cold beverages. So I'm kind of focusing in on what Page and Omega are doing. And they were my favorites going into this thing. And I mentioned that on Off the Script Elite on earlier today. I was going to say Tuesday. I uploaded the podcast, Off the Script Elite, your only place for AEW news and rumors. That is something I usually do on Tuesday. You guys can find it on the channel. I did it earlier this morning. I said it on the podcast this morning that they were actually going to win this match, and I do think that they're actually going to win the Tag Team Championships. I would be shocked if they don't. Or maybe I could be completely wrong, and they actually break down on their way to chasing the championships next week, and they lose, and then we see the heel turn for Adam Hangman Page complete next week. I hope not, because I feel like that would be a little bit too rushed. But regardless of all that, we'll worry about that next week. I was focused on what was going on with them. Everybody else was just supporting players in this thing. Page looked very pissed at Omega. Now, Omega actually went for a double team with the Bucks. Now, obviously, the Bucks are Kenny Omega's opponents in this thing, but they are the Elite. Now, Adam Hangman Page was on the apron, and he looked very pissed that Omega was actually double teaming with the Bucks, and they are their opponents. So I love that aspect, and commentary really focused on that, and we got a good shot of Page just looking very frustrated. I'm not sure if it was Page thinking Omega isn't serious about winning this match, or the fact that he genuinely doesn't want to be there because he made mentions when they were back at the Daily's place. You know, they're booking him in a match with Omega again against Private Party, and you know, nobody runs these things by me. I didn't really anticipate teaming with Omega again. So I'm loving the fact, and I'm loving this. It's very intriguing with what's going on with Omega and Adam Hangman Page. Best Friends looked great with their offense in this thing. They went for their signature hug, but Santana and Ortiz early on got some massive heat for breaking it up. You want to be a full-fledged heel in a match breakup, the Best Friends hug. Then they went on an absolute tear, did Santana and Ortiz, and this is one of the reasons why a lot of people call them one of the best tag teams, if not the best tag team in the world. I can't wait for the Revival to go on over there, have some classics with these guys, hopefully. Keeping my fingers crossed on that one. Unless Vince offers them, I don't know, fucking company-wide stock and maybe a yacht. Each of them get a yacht. Dash and Dawson have new yachts paid for by Vince McMahon. I don't know what's going to keep them in WWE. Hopefully not. I love to see the Revival tear it down with teams like Santana and Ortiz. They went on an absolute tear. Double team moves on the Bucks. Signature Santana and Ortiz ended in them getting a standing ovation in this thing as heels. And this is an awesome chant, or this is awesome chant going on here in Miami. Rolling cannonball from Ortiz and a tope con hero by Santana to finish off this amazing sequence of double team moves here. Matt Jackson tagged Omega after some hesitation on a tag. He was looking for a tag to get out of the ring because he was being beaten down. It was either Page or Omega. Both of them were fresh, and he didn't know which one to tag at one point. So even commentary played up, who do you tag here? Who do you tag if you're Matt Jackson? And he tagged Omega. And again, Page looked pissed. So Omega got in there, 3 Snapdragon suplexes on everybody. I don't even remember who they were done to. I actually stopped taking notes during this match because there was just so much going on. Page eventually got in there with Omega. They did some double team moves themselves. Omega with the knee, moonsault. Page with his standing shooting star on Santana. And then he went right up top and did a moonsault to the outside on everyone. Took everybody out. Crowd was going crazy. Omega was looking to fly, but Santana took him out. Trent and Nick then did both dives to the outside on everybody, took everybody out. Then we get Trent and Matt in the ring. They go up top. They're aiming their chaos to the outside. They were up top. Trent actually superplexed Matt Jackson off the top rope to the outside on top of everybody. Crowd was chanting, holy shit. This was crazy. It was just sheer chaos. At this point, you know, I'm not even paying attention to who the legal man was. I'm just enjoying the chaos. I don't normally like spots like this because everybody's just standing there waiting for something to happen. They all look like a bunch of idiots just standing there. I fucking hate that. I mean, I do commentary myself for House of Glory. I wish I could call that out on commentary, but I don't want to look like a fool. I hate watching a pro wrestling show and you got 6 idiots just standing there, you know? Everybody's just waiting for something to happen. It happened later on in the night with Diamond Dallas Page, but DDP is 60 years old, so I'm not going to really shit on him diving off the top rope at 60 years old. But this was crazy. This was absolutely crazy. Back in the ring, referee Rick Knox, the official for this match, was actually kicked in the face accidentally, and before long, every wrestler was in the middle of the ring, and there was this sequence where they were setting themselves up for a massive 8-man suplex in the middle of the ring. Now, both teams battled for position, right? Got the legs up, couldn't get it. The other team got the legs up, couldn't get it. Orange Cassidy slides into the ring, and it took Orange Cassidy, the 9th man in this sequence, to get the superplex executed. Crowd went crazy for this thing. Everybody was down. Trent and Chucky T got up. They hugged Orange Cassidy. Camera pans out. Everybody's going crazy. This was silly. This was absolutely just sheer stupidity, but this is what brought AEW to the dance, and everybody was going crazy. So, you know, in this moment, I can't really shit on it because, again, this is what brought AEW to TNT and into the mainstream. So, people loved it. That's all that mattered. Best Friends then hit stereo pile drivers on Omega and Page. Bucks saved Kenny from being pinned. Bucks and Santana and Ortiz mixing it up now. Nick was throwing super kicks all over the place. I don't even know who he kicked. It was just all over the place. He nearly kicked Page stopped dead before he kicked Adam Hangman Page. Stopped short. A minute later, Page blind tagged himself on Matt. Matt started complaining. Chucky T then threw Matt over the top rope. Omega then gave Chucky T a V-trigger. Page and Omega hit the buckshot V-trigger combination for the win. And we have the team of Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page, now the number one contenders for the AEW Tag Team Championships. Very interesting situation. Do they win the Tag Team Championships, and do they go on as a tag team to develop this storyline, and then we see the eventual split? Now, this team makes sense. They're part of the Elite. This is not just some random pairing. Yes, they're both known as singles guys, but this is not some random pairing that AEW just threw together. They are part of a faction. They are on the same YouTube show weekly. So they are a team. We've just never seen it done in this fashion before. Do they beat SCU? If I'm booking this thing, I say yes. I think Omega and Page win the titles. We then start to see the deterioration of both of these guys, and the breakaway happens, and then we get the match. I don't know if it's going to happen at Revolution, or if it's going to be something that's prolonged. I would like a good story that plays out over a couple of weeks, couple of months. You know, we've been seeing it, and I want to see it develop a little bit more. I think if they win the titles and then we start to see the deterioration, and then the match between Omega and Page happens at Revolution, I think it's going to be a little bit too quick. So I'm not sure what's going on. And right now, you know, SCU, the way that they stand, I think they're a great team. We got Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky doing their thing. Christopher Daniels seems to be just somewhere else right now. He's not really mixed into what's going on with the tag team. And I don't want to leave Frankie Kazarian out to dry, per se, but Scorpio Sky is the star of this trio. And I know that AEW is looking to break him out eventually on his own. I do think that SCU being the tag team champions, you know, like I said a couple weeks ago when they went up against the Young Bucks, I would have had the Young Bucks beat them for the tag team championships. AEW cannot make the same mistake twice. SCU isn't really doing anything to enhance those tag team championships. If you are AEW, you are putting the tag team championships on Kenny Omega and Adam Hangman Page. Both of them aren't doing anything at the moment right now. And something, as far as championships outside of the World Championship, needs a spotlight. The Women's Championship is dead. The tag team championships have no momentum due to the fact that SCU isn't doing much with them. Put the titles on Page and Omega, and they'll be better off for it. It's a great partnership. The titles will look good, and both of those guys will look good as well. And everything's going to be perfectly, just perfect marriage between champion and championships. So I think that is what AEW needs to do. They can't make the same mistake twice like they did with giving the Young Bucks a loss on that December 18th episode. Can't do it. Page and Omega win the tag team championships next week. Cody Rhodes. See Cody Rhodes looking all Miami Vice. He looked great. It's Miami. Why wouldn't he look great? He looked great. I see some people saying that he shouldn't be doing the big entrance with the big lights just coming up and him coming up from the stage and the smoke. A lot of people saying he shouldn't do the big entrance like he does so often, but I don't really mind. You know, people saying save it for the major shows. When he comes out here like this in this situation to address the crowd and address the issue at hand all by himself, I'm all for it. Now, he didn't come out to the ring with Arn Anderson. There's no reason for Arn Anderson to be there. Arn Anderson's role is a coach. This is Cody. And Arn Anderson said last week, we're going to talk about it, and Cody's going to give his answer next week. That's what he said last week. And now here we are, and Cody's giving the answer himself as promised. So I like that he came out there, he did the entrance. He's a star to these people. People want to pop for him. And he's the biggest babyface in all of pro wrestling right now. It's very difficult to argue that. Cody is the biggest babyface in all of wrestling. And in front of these people, he is a mega star. So people chanting Cody. Cody said Arn Anderson was right when he said the audience wants this match between him and MJF. Said he came out there pompously and indignant with his usual self-righteousness. Big words there, especially for the wrestling crowd, went right over their heads. They're just happy to see Cody, I guess. And asked MJF to name his price to face him. It's rather expensive, he says. The big screen said, Cody cannot touch MJF until Revolution. So he kicked it to the truck. We've seen the list of stipulations laid out by MJF and a nice little graphic on the screen. So the big screen said Cody cannot touch MJF until Revolution. He'll accept the 10 lashes, and he has to face Wardlow in a steel cage match first. Said a cage match against Wardlow, MJF figures, will soften up his 34-year-old body and give MJF the best chance to win. He said he knows what it's like when someone tries to steal his pop or dampen his flame or is afraid of his star burning brighter. He said he thinks MJF is afraid that fans will see Wardlow wrestle for AEW and think Wardlow shouldn't be carrying MJF's bags, but MJF should be carrying his. Obviously, the AEW fan base ran with this and started chanting, "Bag Boy," to MJF. He said, as for the 10 lashes, he can't believe he's saying it out loud, but he'll take the 10 lashes live on TV. He wants to whip me, he said. I understand the symbolism of that farce. He said he's willing to endure the pain and his skin breaking. Cody said as far as the other stipulation, he doesn't need to touch MJF because MJF is living rent-free inside of his brain. He says MJF is stalling. Said MJF has wanted to be famous his entire life. They brought up the fact that when he was 7 years old, he had his family parade him around on the Rosie O'Donnell show, and he has found a passion for pro wrestling since then. Said he clings to his minute-by-minute internet fame from veterans and all these people like Meltzer and Alvarez and everybody else, me included. I'm not a veteran or I'm not an old-timer, but I know a good wrestling heel when I see one, who'll bolster him up because he's a real, true, old-school pro wrestling heel. The word heel said on a pro wrestling show is not something you'll hear in WWE. So I love the fact that Cody brought this up and mentioned that everybody says the same thing about MJF, that he's a real, true, old-school pro wrestling heel. Said, to steal a phrase from his old friend Kevin, you're not old school, you're lazy. Cody then accepted the challenges. Said he's starting to feel that maybe he failed as his mentor. But your story, you're simply a character in mine. He said he's going to give MJF his own goddamn scar at Revolution. So that is the way the promo here with Cody ended. And I thought this was great. Now, the one thing that I was worried about with MJF giving out these demands is that Cody was going to just simply bow down and accept these stipulations just because we all figured he wanted to get his hands on MJF after what MJF did to him. Almost bowing down to meet MJF's demands just to get this match at Revolution. But Cody actually came off like a star here, as always, and put on a great performance with this promo and put over the stipulations as difficult, but also welcomed them as well. He seemed to just stand there and kind of own up to the fact that, okay, I'll accept your stipulations. There's nothing that I won't do to get my hands on you. And he made them seem a little difficult, but he said, you know what? Bring it on. It's pretty much exactly the tone of his body language and the tone of his voice. Bring it on. You know, the steel cage match is happening in the middle of February in Atlanta, Georgia. So that is a done deal. And I love the fact that he mentioned that MJF is living rent-free. You know, living rent-free. So I don't need to touch you. And the 10 lashes, he mentioned the 10 lashes last. He went actually backwards when reading off the screen for the stipulations. I don't know why he mentioned the 10 lashes last, because that's not really the way the order of the stipulations fell. But I'm guessing they're doing that. I don't know when that's going to happen, but he played up the fact that that's going to be a TV spectacle. That's why I think they did that last. People were saying no, and then when Cody said, you know what, I'll embrace it. We'll do it. I accept. People almost gasped when he said it. So it's going to be a big deal. I think AEW is going to be building around that. You know, Cody tonight on Dynamite is going to take 10 lashes from MJF, and it's going to be built as a spectacle. Because when do you see someone just willingly, you know, get on all fours and take lashes from their upcoming pay-per-view opponent? You know, it's different. I like it. It's real. And I love the fact that Cody brought up MJF's childhood, Rosie O'Donnell, wanting to be a pro wrestler. You know, the fact that everybody's bragging about how great of a heel he is. It's great. And this is where Cody thrives. This is where he excels. There's nobody in this business right now that is getting you more invested and more excited for what they're doing on pay-per-view than Cody Rhodes. This was fantastic. We go from Cody Rhodes to Joey Janela. Very different, I know. But I love the fact that AEW is giving us vignettes and promos from the superstars themselves to tell us who they are and what they are going to be doing instead of the commentary team. Joey Janela said in 2020, this was supposed to be a fresh start for him. But the first time the fans saw his pretty face, he got punched in the balls by his ex-girlfriend, Penelope Ford. He said he told her time and time again he didn't want anything to do with her. I don't know why. But the only way she can create a buzz for herself was on his name. He said she's walking around now with her pretty boy side piece, hunk, Kip Sabian. He said he felt last year he got hit in the balls all year. Metaphorically speaking, of course. He said his record is not what he wanted it to be. And he said next week he faces Rey Fenix. And he has something to prove. He said things have to change in 2020. Now, I never got the appeal of Joey Janela. He's had some decent matches with Moxley. He's had a great match with Omega on more than one occasion. The guy can go when he wants to show up for work. I just never got the appeal of Joey Janela. I really never got the appeal of what he was supposed to be or his look. Now, I appreciate the fact that AEW is giving us a glimpse into who these guys are, and it's not being said or done by the commentary team. I always want to see said superstar in front of the camera telling the audience what they're going to do, who they're about, and whatever they got coming up next in whatever match they have coming up. I like that. I'm glad AEW is doing that finally, because that's something that we've asked for, a glimpse into who these guys are. He has qualities that I like, but I don't think he is anything close to being the backbone of AEW like he said he was. He got over on the indies doing one thing and one thing only, and that's being a maniac, a hardcore maniac. That's what got him over. That's what got him his name value. There was going to be a time where he was eventually going to have to move away from that and grow. In order to grow as a performer, you can't go back to what brought you to the dance. What worked on a small stage won't work on the big stage. This is national TV. It will only keep you where you are. He has the potential to break out, but it's going to be a very long road for someone like Joey Janela. Now, I mentioned the Omega matches. Great. I loved what he did with Omega several weeks back on Dynamite. If we see more of that Joey Janela, and we see a little bit more serious from him, he could still be the bad boy, he could still be the party animal and the fucking drunk at the party, but when he shows up to work, I want to see him work. I don't want to see what brought him to the dance. What brought him to the dance is what brought him to the dance. Now you need to do more in order to grow and in order for people to take you seriously. Now, I don't know what his vision is for himself as a career in pro wrestling, but he has the capabilities to be more. I want to see more. So we'll see what happens. And it's a great start next week against Rey Fenix. So we'll see what happens. Here we go, folks. It's ranting time. Someone sound the fucking alarms. Someone sound the alarms. The women's division of AEW is taking center stage. Oh boy, oh boy. I hear them running for the fucking popcorn as we speak. I would love to see the line for the fucking popcorn and beer in Miami during this match. Probably out the fucking door. Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida against Brandy Rhodes. Yes, I didn't stutter. Brandy Rhodes and Melanie Cruz, who they're calling simply Mel. She undertook the Vince McMahon cut the name in half gimmick. Mel. Who the fuck is Mel? I still don't know who any of these people are, and AEW has refused to tell us who they are. Like we've seen a glimpse of what Joey Janela has to say. Who is the Nightmare Collective? A Nightmare Collective of garbage is what they are. This was supposed to be Awesome Kong and not Brandy, but honestly, when you have a gun to your head, pointed directly right between your eyes, someone asks you to choose, who would you like to see tonight? Awesome Kong or Brandy Rhodes in the middle of that ring. I think every single person that has that gun pointed at them right between the eye is going to choose Brandy Rhodes. A, she's better to look at. And B, I would rather see Brandy move around the ring instead of Awesome Kong not moving around the ring. That's just my take on that. Now, I don't know if this was a test. How do you kill an AEW crowd in Miami that's been hot up until this point? Simple. Send out the Nightmare Collective. The crowd went dead silent. I don't even know how that's humanly possible after that tag team match and that Cody promo. I don't know how that's even fucking possible. Absolutely dead. Crickets is what I heard in Miami. Party city like Miami went dead silent. Like they were blackout drunk, dead silent. Do the fans of AEW hate women's wrestling? I don't think that's the answer. I don't think that they do. If you put on a match like we seen, I'm just going to pick one randomly off the top of my head. If you take a match like we seen at TakeOver Toronto in August between Io Shirai and Candice LeRae, you AEW fans, you might not watch NXT, and if you're not, I'm sorry, you're missing some pretty good shit over there. If you're not familiar with this match, I urge you to go and watch it. It was the best match. It might have been the best women's match all year. And it had very close competition. It's either that one or the Becky Lynch-Sasha Banks match at Hell in a Cell. What Io Shirai and Candice LeRae did was absolutely fucking phenomenal. There's no way you can tell me that if you take that match and put it on AEW Dynamite, that crowd is not going to react the way that they did in the first match. These fans don't hate women's wrestling. They hate the fucking Nightmare Collective. They hate them. This is not what the fans wanted when they think AEW. I don't know what this is. There's no way this fan base and these fans in Miami are not invested in everything good that this company has to offer. They are not invested in this terrible storyline, which is the only thing the women's division has going for it right now. This has taken center stage over the AEW's women's title. Completely backwards is this women's division. Completely. I get that we can have more than one storyline on TV in the division, but we don't. And the one that we have is the one that we don't want and the one that we don't care about. This was one of the worst wrestling matches that you will see from any women on national TV all year. Absolutely awful. If this is the state of the women's division, halt the entire women's division until everyone gets on the same page, or get rid of it completely. Or just get rid of the Nightmare Collective completely. Just suck it up, own up to your error, get rid of it, and start all over with the division. Because that's what needs to be done. I don't want to be negative when I review anything on Wednesday nights, but this is inexcusable. It's to a point where their segments are bringing down the show from truly being great every single week. Why would anyone be okay with segments this bad on a weekly basis? If I'm booking a show, I want everything to be A-okay. I want to look myself in the mirror at the end of the evening. I want to lay my head down on my pillow knowing, man, I love that show. Everything about that show, we did right. How could you lay your head down at night and think, man, this was a good show, but we could have did better. It wasn't a perfect show. That Nightmare Collective segment was awful. I would hate myself. I would absolutely hate myself. Who is interested in this? Nobody. So why is it on TV? All anyone is going to be pinpointing here is everything but Chris Statlander and Hikaru Shida. Everything but the match. In one of the worst segments you'll see, possibly all year, Statlander went to go kick Melanie Cruz from the apron and missed by 6 inches, at least 6 inches. Meanwhile, she did that slapping of the leg that gives you that poppy sound when someone gets a kick in pro wrestling. You know all the secrets. Didn't even connect with the kick. Then flipped off the ring apron and barely touched Melanie Cruz, but Melanie Cruz sold it anyway. This was Dark Order bad. I'm not going to be surprised when we see, probably tonight, somebody's probably already done it, but definitely tomorrow when we wake up in social media land, in the wrestling community, this will be a Dark Order gif all over again. It was bad. Now, Chris Statlander is great, minus the botch tonight. I still think she's green. There's obviously a lot of work to do, but she is easily the best-looking female in that entire division, outside of Hikaru Shida. Shida is great. In fact, she's my favorite in all of the division, period. This match was sloppy. The crowd was totally taken out of it. Nobody cared, and it's at a point where people are watching with all this negativity going in and watching, looking for mistakes like this to happen, and when all of that stuff happens, it's going to be that much more magnified. I don't understand how Brandy could look at herself and look at this and say, good job. Something needs to be done. And I love Kenny Omega. I think Kenny is great. But the fact that he said fans are ignorant about their criticisms about the AEW women's division, I don't know what he was doing during this match, but there's no way that he cannot side with us complaining about this segment. It's not ignorance. We expect better. And you're not giving us better for this portion of the show. And nobody's doing anything to fix it. Let's get into the match. Melanie goes off the top rope. Shida climbs up, hits a superplex. Statlander with a running knee strike, goes for a cover, only a 1 count. Shida with a knee to the back of the head. Statlander with a standing moonsault. That was very nicely done. Brandy breaks up that cover. Melanie with a double clothesline on her opponents. She looks sloppy as hell. I don't know where she came from. Apparently she was overseas in Japan. Maybe they should ship her back there. Brandy and Shida ended up on the floor. In the ring, Statlander counters a pile driver into one of her own. 1, 2, 3. Very nicely done. Almost a tombstone-like pile driver by Chris Statlander. The winner here was Shida and Statlander, from what we've seen. But the real winners were nobody. Especially nobody in Miami that was forced to watch this fucking garbage while sitting there on Dynamite. Awful. Absolutely awful. We go from that to the Dark Order. We go from the Nightmare Collective to the Dark Order. This segment with the Dark Order was actually very nicely done. Their segments are better than whatever they do when they're live on TV. So more segments, please, from the Dark Order. We might actually end up liking them. So we see the Dark Order spokesman. I don't know if he has a name or not, but we see this guy in the business suit saying the group has taken in literally thousands of potential recruits. He brings up Michael Nakazawa, and they say they've seen his desire to want to win. The spokesman was actually talking to somebody. We heard this voice in the background. He's actually talking to the Exalted One, which we did not see. Obviously, the Exalted One had his voice distorted, and I don't think there really is someone for the Exalted One yet, so they got some random guy to fucking disguise his voice, I'm sure. So the Exalted One asks about Kenny Omega. The spokesman says that getting to Kenny will be a little bit more difficult and will take much more time, and maybe if they can recruit Nakazawa, then they could reach Omega through Nakazawa. They show Brandon Cutler, says he has a strong alliance to the Elites and has been on a big losing streak, but the Dark Order can do more for him. Adam Page was shown as well, another target since he's growing distant from the Elite. So that's pretty much that. So I'm liking where this is going, man. You know, with these segments, every time they're in the ring, we see this just overwhelming, just garbage with the creepers and, all these segments that they've done. They've showed up back-to-back weeks, and we really haven't seen much of anything enjoyable from them. But in segments like this, toned down and delivered in this fashion, I'm loving what they're doing with the Dark Order. And I love the fact that Omega and Page were mentioned here, so those are possibly just another log on the fire right there between the dissension of Omega and Adam Hangman Page. Guys, quickly, make sure you follow me on social media at JD from NY206. That's on Twitter and Instagram. And if you missed Off the Script Elites, the only podcast in the community strictly based on AEW news and rumors that you should be worried about, Off the Script Elite went live Wednesday morning. If you missed it, go and check it out. Link will be down in the description below, along with everything else that you might have missed on the channel. Up next, we got the Spanish God, Sammy Guevara, and Jon Moxley. I hope you guys know. I think you guys are smart enough to know how good Sammy Guevara is. He is so great. And, he's in these matches like this one. He's in these matches where he's given a lot of offense, but in the end ends up losing. I guess that's their way to counteract. We want to put Sammy out there and get him over and get him in the ring with this level of talent. He's not going to win. And they keep putting him in these situations where you kind of know going in he's not going to win. but he gets a lot of offense and he shows you exactly what he's made of. I love what I'm seeing from Sammy Guevara. And he was actually interviewed not too long ago. He was actually on, Talk is Jericho, and he talked about how WWE wanted to sign him and how he didn't go to the WWE. Like, he had a very difficult time just taking in the entire Performance Center progress and the whole process of everything behind it at the Performance Center. And he ended up going with AEW, and this was absolutely the best move for him. If he was in WWE, he would be lost in the shuffle. He'll probably be on 205 Live, for all we know, knowing them. But on AEW Dynamite, he's getting himself out there. He's in the ring with Jericho as a part of the Inner Circle. He's in the ring with guys like Moxley. He's getting his shit in. He's becoming a little bit more comfortable with who he is and what he represents in the Inner Circle. Everybody enjoys what he's bringing to the table. This is a great move. And it's great to see something like this, man. One of the things that I love most is watching these guys blossom on TV. And right now, we're in that phase of watching Sammy Guevara blossom into something more. Who knows what's to come with somebody as talented as he is. He's been doing great. And I hope that you guys know that. Whoever's in charge, I don't know if it's TNT, if it's a TNT thing, or if it's a AEW thing, how dare you cut to commercial? We have a split-screen commercial. Fine. Sammy Guevara's got his cue cards. But then you take the picture-in-picture commercial away, and then you don't do it anymore. You went away from the picture-in-picture while I'm reading Sammy's cue cards. How dare you? Now, Cody is supposed to get 10 lashes. I think we reserve that for whoever did this blunder tonight. Can't happen anymore, AEW. Cannot happen. When Sammy's got his cue cards, you have that picture-in-picture stay until you come back to live action. Jon Moxley, he is the proud owner of a new 4GT for now, which, by the way, is Shad Khan's 4GT. I'm not sure if you guys knew that. Tony Khan's father, that's his car. Now, Moxley drove the 4GT into the arena. He came out of the car. People went crazy. Walked through the crowd to make his ring entrance, and he had no theme music. Now, I love Moxley's theme music in AEW. It just gets everybody riled up. It gives everybody that go crazy feel. But he came out to no theme music, and obviously something was missing. I'm not sure if that was done by design, and the pop was supposed to be him coming out of the 4GT with no music, or if somebody fell asleep in the truck and forgot to cue his theme music, but you can't have that happen. Moxley has to come out with his theme music. It's just his thing, Theme music going off, him running through the crowd, walking through the crowd, just not giving a shit about anything. Crowd's going crazy. So you can't have that happen again. So it kind of took away from Moxley's aura tonight when he made his ring entrance for this match. This was great. 10 minutes. Sammy got his offense in. Moxley won the thing. He didn't really anticipate anything more here. Jon Moxley wins. So let's speed it up here. Sammy's up top. He's going for a 450 or a moonsault or something high risk that's going to pop the crowd. He said, fuck the crowd. He jumped down and he ended up strutting to Jon Moxley and said, I'm not going to pop the crowd here. Go fuck yourself. So Moxley seeing this, he gave him an uppercut. Moxley gave him an uppercut, then a running knee and a released X-Plex, Pete Dunne-like, for a 2 count. Moxley set up Guevara for a paradigm shift on the ring apron. Sick motherfucker this guy is. Guevara escaped and then leapt at Moxley with a double knees right down to the apron, and both guys hit the floor. He threw him into the ringside barricade next, and then the ringside steps. He was posing in the middle of the ring, which he did a lot of in this match. And then we went to another split-screen commercial. Back from the commercial, which was quick, Moxley caught him and drove his head into the mat for a 2 count. Moxley dragged Guevara up to the second rope. Guevara slipped free and then leapt to the top rope and gave Mox a top rope. I guess it was a Spanish fly, I think it was. Top rope Spanish fly. Looked great. Moxley fought back out of this, of course, with a paradigm shift attempt. Guevara avoided it, and he hit a goat to sleep for a near fall. A lot of offense for Guevara in this match, though Moxley is going to be set up as the new number 1 contender for Chris Jericho. Guevara leapt off the top rope. Moxley caught him and applied a sleeper, and he tapped out. Moxley did not win with the paradigm shift, which I love, and he ended up tapping out Sammy Guevara. So there is another move in his arsenal. Moxley can beat you in a multitude of ways. You don't need to do the paradigm shift. He showed it here. He beat Sammy with a sleeper hold, and that was it. Guevara tapped out almost instantly. Very good match. Guevara got a lot of offense in, but I think that was done by design to just, show you what he's made of. They keep putting him in these losing efforts. What would you like him to do? Normally, I'd bitch and complain about that. Oh, Sammy got a lot of offense in on someone who's probably going to be named the number one contender. Moxley should be taking care of these guys easily. But Sammy is Sammy. He's going to lose, but he's got to look good in a losing effort. And I think this, keeps him at that role in the inner circle that he's valuable, but, they're going to end up getting one over on Moxley anyway because they are strength in numbers. So after the match, lights went out. They came back on. Hager, Jericho, Santana, and Ortiz all had him surrounded. Moxley didn't know where to look. He was surrounded by all of the inner circle. Jericho's jacket was a lethal weapon in itself. Spikes everywhere. I don't know if he was a pro wrestler or if he was singing for Immortal, some fucking black metal band from the higher regions of Norway. I don't know. But his jacket looked absolutely fantastic. And Guevara was on the outside. He came back into the ring, 5-on-1. They all took down Jon Moxley. Jericho started whipping Moxley with the belt, plate side up, just whipping him like a government mule with the AEW championship. And then he hit him in the face with the belt as well. Moxley was then held down by the inner circle. Jericho unscrewed one of the spikes on his jacket and then nailed Moxley in the face with the spike, and the commentary team played it off as if Jericho stabbed Moxley in the eye with the spike off of his jacket. Fans are chanting, asshole. Moxley was selling this very beautifully on the outside here. Referees came down and put towels on his face. This was awesome. This was awesome. Excalibur said AEW officials need to threaten them with fines and suspensions. He had all the referee crew out there. Aubrey Edwards got in the ring. This was great. Aubrey Edwards got in the ring, and you know how Santana and Ortiz get in their face and Jericho gets in the official's face. Aubrey Edwards like, you're going to step to me? What the fuck are you going to do to me? Put your hands on me, bitch. She got in everybody's face, and she stood her ground. Punch me. Do something to me. Go ahead. And everybody started chanting Aubrey in this crowd. Just by the way she reacted to the inner circle, man. Standing up to them. Usually it's the other way around. She stood up to everybody in the inner circle. Awesome stuff there. So we had a medic checking on Moxley's injury. So this was really good stuff. Backstage, Jennifer Decker interviewed Chris Jericho. He said what happened tonight was the fault of the inner circle. And he said, or wasn't the fault of the inner circle. He said it was Moxley's fault because he smashed a bottle of champagne over his head and signed his own death warrant. So he's saying Moxley is to blame for this. And then obviously the retaliation from the bottle of champagne going over Jericho's head last week. He said that they had to take him out, eye for an eye. Now you know why he did the spot with the spike off his jacket into Moxley's eye. Said that they're going to keep an eye out for Moxley because he's only got one left. Absolutely brilliant. I love it. I love it. He said he kicked the shit out of Moxley, and next week on the Jericho Cruise, they're doing the same thing to the Jurassic Express. See you around, Moxley, even though you can't really see us. So then Sammy looked up at Jennifer Decker, who was very nicely dressed tonight, and he looked up and down at her and did one of these. Call me. Hit me up. And then he walked away. So there you go. This was awesome. I loved everything about this. The match was good. The post-match attack with the inner circle was great. And Jericho's promo was just awesome. Can't really say anything else about it. Just awesome. We go from that to the six-man tag. The Butcher and the Blade with Ali, the bunny. MJF teaming up with his guys against Diamond Dallas Page, QT Marshall, and Dustin Rhodes. This was fun. Wasn't really anything all that spectacular, but this was the MJF show. This was literally the MJF show. MJF was wearing a shirt that literally had Diamond Dallas Page's logo. His logo on the shirt. And in words on the shirt, MJF was wearing, I banged Dallas's daughter. I don't know what you guys think of MJF, but the guy is TV gold. I don't know what else to say. I don't know. On this episode of What Did MJF Do Now, he wore a shirt of, I banged Dallas's daughter. I can't hate on it. There's no reason why anybody should hate on it. It's just fucking great. It's just awesome. MJF, the Butcher and the Blade, won this thing. The highlight of this match was outside of MJF just doing his thing. You know, he's just great at everything he does. I don't mean to suck the guy's dick or anything, but the guy is just perfect. I mean, he's the perfect heel. The big thing about this match was Diamond Dallas Page. This is the first time we've seen him in a pro wrestling ring since a random, I don't know what year. Forgive me for not knowing my Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royals. He was in one of those random, meaningless, irrelevant Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royals many years ago. And he was the hot tag in this match. He was the hot tag. So he hits a diamond cutter on the Butcher. Of course he does, because the Butcher and the Blade suck. They got hit with 2 diamond cutters last week. He took them both out single-handedly. He hits another one on the Butcher here. Then he pointed at MJF for a diamond cutter. MJF kicked DDP right between the legs, kicked him in the balls. He then tagged Dustin. Dustin landed a destroyer on MJF. MJF sold it brilliantly. He didn't know where the fuck he was. DDP then gave MJF a diamond cutter. Blade broke up the cover from the outside. QT Marshall tagged in. Dustin then landed a cannonball off the ring apron onto the Butcher and the Blade. Marshall then landed a dive over the top rope on top of them. Bunny then went after DDP, but he blocked her, and then DDP went up to the top rope, 60 years old, and did a flying crossbody off the top rope. Fans were chanting something. I don't remember what they were chanting. I couldn't really hear them because the place was going fucking crazy. If it was holy shit or you still got it or DDP, I don't know what they were chanting, but this was crazy. Back in the ring, nobody knew who the legal man was in this thing. MJF was the only one smart enough to not be in the pile of this people looking up at DDP as he's getting ready to jump off the top rope. MJF was on the other side of the ring, avoiding all of this garbage. He snuck into the ring, pinned QT Marshall with nobody even knowing what was going on, and he won the match for his team. I don't know what else to say. It worked. It was fun. DDP got his spot in. I'm sure he's going to have 1,000+ signups for DDP Yoga after tonight, because obviously the DDP Yoga worked for him. Look at the shape he's in at 60 years old. If everybody wants to get into shape after watching DDP jump off the top rope with a crossbody, so be it. So be it. This was fun, and it worked. And MJF is fucking great. Backstage, Jennifer Decker again interviewed SCU about defending their tag team titles. Page walked in, not DDP, but Adam Hangman Page walked in, acting drunk. He had a glass of whiskey with him. SCU pushed him away. Kenny came in to play peacemaker here. Omega says he's acting a little frisky. Don't mind my partner. Omega then says that they will have a gentleman's contest. May the best man win. I can't wait to get in the ring with you guys, and blah, blah, blah. He was acting very cordial and very gentlemanlike. And then Page was like, I'm going to kick your guys' asses. So obviously, Kenny's got to deal with a raging alcoholic before their tag team title match next week. So this was fun. This was fun. It set up the match for next week, and then you got the tag team title match happening right before the Jericho Cruise. Main event. Darby Allin, Pac, winner, wrestles Moxley next week for the number 1 contendership for the AEW Championship. This was awesome. I did not even take notes. I honestly did not take notes for this thing because I was just wanting to just sit there and watch this thing. I wanted to watch what these guys did. But this was crazy. Darby Allin is one sick motherfucker, man. It's not surprising to see why Darby Allin is as over as he is. It's just that mentality of just daredevil that everybody is just so invested in. They have no point but to respect him. They have no reason to not respect this guy just by the way he is in the ring. So we went to commercial break, and then back from commercial break, Pac took over. He did a power bomb on the steel steps to Darby Allin during the commercial break. They showed the intensity of it and the crowd reaction to it when we came back to the show, but I hate when stuff like that happens in the commercial break. Power bomb to Darby Allin on the steel steps. Looked absolutely brutal. Allin eventually fought back from this thing, went up to the top rope and did a coffin drop, which looked absolutely beautiful on Pac. You seen Darby Allin bruised on his arm. It looked like he was lacerated a little bit, all bloodied and bruised. Guy jumped off the top rope backwards, landed a beautiful coffin drop on Pac. Crowd went crazy. Darby landed a code red, which looked beautiful for a near fall. Back and forth we go for a couple of near falls. Pac landed the black arrow on Darby Allin for the clean win. And that is another one of those moves that is just very protected. I was going to say it's like the Black Mass, but Buddy Murphy kicked out of that on Monday Night Raw, quote unquote. It's like the RKO in AEW. It's very, or not even the RKO. It's like the End of Days. I don't think anybody's kicked out of the End of Days yet for Baron Corbin. It's one of the very few finishing moves that's been protected. And it's like that. It's very protected in AEW. Nobody kicks out of the Black Arrow. You know when he does it, it's a big deal. Pac wins in a great main event to end Dynamite. But that's not the end. Tony Schiavone got in the ring, and he was in the ring with Pac, interviewing him. He said, he is the new number one contender. Tony Schiavone said, whoa, you got to beat Moxley first. The winner of this match goes on to fight Moxley next week, and the winner of that is the number one contender. Moxley is not the number one contender, Pac says. He is in no condition to be the number one contender. He began talking about facing Jericho, and then Moxley, obviously, there was something going on in the back, because as soon as Tony Schiavone did this with his finger to his ear, he was getting word in his earpiece, oh, wait, something's going on in the back. Let's cut away from this for a little bit. Let's see what's going on in the back. Moxley was being transported into an ambulance. They loaded him up in an ambulance. There was medical staff there. He had this black bandage along his face, covering his eye. He looked like something out of Metal Gear Solid. He looked like the second coming of Solid Snake, did Jon Moxley. So Moxley was then being loaded into the ambulance. They closed the door behind him. He bursts through the ambulance door. He marched back to the ring. He walked through Gorilla, up the stairs, through the tunnel, to the stage with a microphone. Moxley said, to hell with my eye. I'm fighting you next week, and I'm going to kick your ass. Moxley said if he doesn't care if he's blind or half dead, he will be there next week, and he will kick Pac's ass because that title shot belongs to him. And that's the way the show went off the air. Fans chanted, Moxley, Moxley, Moxley. This is going to be a great main event for Dynamite next week. It's going to be a taped show, I hope. I hope that it's not the same or the same feeling that we get when we watch a Monday Night Raw or SmackDown tape show. You know, you can just watch those shows and sense that they're taped. I hope that's not the case. This was a great show tonight. Everything outside that women's embarrassment. This was a great Dynamite. I've been a little harder on them than normal. You know, everybody, with the show first debuting on TNT, everybody was so excited. Oh my God, new wrestling. This is great. We got somebody to finally give us something we want on Wednesday nights outside of the garbage that we're seeing on Monday and Friday. That honeymoon phase going into week 6, 7, 8, 9, started to fade a little bit. And I made the mention of, coming out of Full Gear, they didn't really have anything to build towards. A lot of these shows were going to be, nothing shows. They weren't really building to anything. They didn't have anything to, put on for big time matches or give that those matches big time feels. But the holiday also killed AEW as well. Going on into the holiday and after Thanksgiving and going on into the Christmas season, everybody's like, you know what? Fuck the end of the year. We'll worry about all this stuff when we get to 2020 and then we'll come out swinging. And AEW has done pretty much that every show they've had so far in 2020. They've come out swinging. This show was awesome. We're getting that build towards Revolution. We're feeling it. We're seeing it. There's a sense of urgency. And Dynamite's running on all cylinders again, man. It's a very good show tonight. Outside that women's match, this could have been their best show ever. But that women's match brought it down. But Dynamite was great tonight. Bash at the Beach was a success in Miami. Very much looking forward to that main event next week. Pac and Moxley is going to be awesome. It's going to be the one main event finally on this show that legitimately has a main event feel. Can't wait to see what they do. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you all so very much for your supports. If you guys stuck around this long, please hashtag down below in the comments Moxley and let me know what you thought of AEW Dynamite down in the comments. Subscribe. If you're new around here, I would greatly appreciate you guys hitting that subscribe button. Turn on that bell for all notifications. Follow me on social media at JD from NY206. And make sure you guys go and check out all the other videos that you might have missed on the channel. Everything you need is linked down below in the description of this very video. Guys, I'm getting out of here. Thank you again, and I'll see you right back here tomorrow afternoon as we talk about NXT. So until then, Have a great night, and I'll see you right back here when we review NXT right here on Off the Script. See you guys later.